welcome to my YouTube channel. Glad you could stop by. Please don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe by clicking the red button, of course, or you can also press that bell notification as well. And don't forget, I'm also over on Instagram, therefore you can go and have a look and join me there and follow me there. There's quite a lot of things that I will share between Instagram and YouTube as well. But this particular video, I wanted to show you an in-depth look into how ill I was with iron deficiency in my story. I've started to go out doing a little bit of public speaking, and I was at a conference day and I was asked to go along and talk about my story as a patient with iron deficiency. And of course, iron deficiency caused me to have mental health problems. So my story, you need a cup of tea because it's a long one. It goes on for roughly around about 20-25 minutes as my talk, but the doctor had spoken first, but unfortunately we didn't capture that, which I'm absolutely gutted about because she is absolutely phenomenal. It's Dr. Caitlin Scott, and she went into all about iron deficiency and how it is actually caused, so what was actually going on within my body. But sadly, we've just got, well, sadly, I don't want to call that, is just my story, my patient story of what I had and what I went through. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you pick up some tips and tricks from it as well, in the meaning of if you are suffering from any of this, then please go and get checked. I'll leave everything in the description below of what you need to check for in your bloods, what you need to ask your doctor for. If your doctor won't do it, where to go, and also as well get a printout of those bloods and send them to Dr. Caitlin at the Iron Clinic, and all the details will be below. So enjoy, and here is my story of iron deficiency.
She is quite literally on a campaign to change the world and the world's perception of iron deficiency and create awareness. She's been on BBC Talk Radio, she's been on a number of other radio stations, and she is now a member of the anemia community to try and create awareness. So Sally can come up and share her story.
Hello, thank you for having me here. Now I want to do something with you. I want you to all answer a couple of questions by standing on your feet first of all, if that's okay. So, stay sat down and then stand on your feet if you answer. Now if anything, obviously, try and be as honest as you can. And I know that's going to be very difficult because there's going to be some things that you might think, oh, I don't want him to know when I'm working with him. Right, so have you ever suffered with any of these symptoms? Chronic fatigue. Can you stand up, please? Brain fog. Forgetfulness, and thank you for that, First Lady, for standing up. Forgetfulness. Don't you tell me that everyone. Oh, I haven't. Really? I think that's everybody. Breathlessness. No energy. Being lethargic. Hair loss. Brittle nails. Headaches and dizziness. Heart palpitations. Is everybody stood up? Are you just standing up because everybody else has? Also, not sleeping very well, more infections than usual, mental health, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, fertility problems, hot sweats. Now that's only a fraction because apparently there's 132 symptoms of what they know about. So, who out of you lot, and you don't have to answer me, just answer in your head, who out of you lot went to the doctors? Did they sort you out? Have you got an answer? Do you now feel well? Or are you still battling? You sit down. So obviously, after Dr. Caitlin's done her speech, you can see that it's some of that, all of it, is linked to iron deficiency. Now, it may or may not be what your problem is, but it could be what your problem is. And it's a thing that the doctors, sadly, are looking for other things or maybe treating symptom by symptom, or looking at your bloods and going by the NICE comms guidelines, which are too wide, as I've learned, thanks to Dr. Kate and Scott at the Eye Clinic, and it's not being recognised. The scary part of this is that I was never picked up on in 4.5 years, and let me tell you, I lived at that surgery. They knew me, the receptionist used to say, all right, Sal, are you all right? I was like, it was embarrassing. I've been on a mission since February of last year trying to help friends and family and those with the same symptoms as me, and everybody that I've sent to go and get their bloods done, not one person has been picked up on, even though they've got low ferritin levels. I mean, that's flabbergasting, isn't it? So 30%, they say, of women are iron deficient, and obviously I was one of them, but I'm the other side now because I'm well, thanks to Dr. Caitlin Scott. I thought when you put that thing on, I thought I wrote that, but I didn't. So sit comfortably. I'm either going to bore you silly, or you're going to want to go and get your ferritin levels checked. And she's here, she can sort you. So rewind back to June 2014, and I was 8 months pregnant. My hands went like a very light shade of blue. You know when you get cold lips when you've been out like in the snow or something like that? And my feet did, and I couldn't move them properly. So obviously I was under the hospital, so I went to the obstetrician there, and I was just told, oh, this is something normal. Pregnant women suffer with this, but we don't know what it is. So of course, you know, I knew nothing about this, so I left, putting my trust in them. I now know that at that time, when I saw that obstetrician and my own doctor, that my ferritin level was sat at 8. And it also had a red flag next to it to say that I was iron deficient. My mood was low during the latter stages of pregnancy, and obviously it's all put down to, well, you're pregnant. And after giving birth, my mum noticed a difference in my personality. I was a little bit more angry and, you know, tetchy and on edge. I mean, I normally am, but I was worse. So I completely disagreed, and obviously she was wrong, but she wasn't. I also started with similar symptoms to sort of fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, where my muscles and my joints were aching, and just to get up and down stairs with a new baby, I struggled, and I would do sort of one step at a time. And during my nighttime feeds, my husband had to hand me the baby, my little Frankie Jack, because I physically couldn't move my arms and my hands properly, and he even had to put the bottle in my hand to put in Frankie Jack's mouth, because I just couldn't move my joints properly. It was absolutely awful. Again, went back to the doctors. Guess what? Oh, it's something that happens to pregnant women, but we don't know why. So it'll leave you around about 12 weeks. And he was right. I'll give him his due for that. It did, and it slowly got better, but never fully recovered. And my hot sweats, has anybody had them? Well, I'm not looking forward to the menopause. They are horrific. I just burn up in meetings. You know, you go into a meeting with a new person and I just look like the sweaty old bird in the corner. It was absolutely awful. And I went to, I remember going to the Manchester Christmas markets with my husband, and everybody else is freezing cold because it's snowing and they're all like this. I had my coat off, my t-shirt on. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrendous. I'm so hot. And also, I do work in television, so I'm a TV presenter, and I would be presenting on air and then all of a sudden have this horrendous, hot, sweaty moustache. It was just awful. And again, what's wrong with me, doctor? Oh, don't know, never heard of that. No, that's unusual. I have no idea what that is. So again, you kind of come away, you know, what do you do? It's your doctor. You say, okay, I trust you, you know, I'll just have to live with it. Now, obviously, most men in this room are going to say women are hard to live with. Is that right? No. Well, are you saying no? Oh, you're a good boy. I was like a werewolf. My poor boyfriend at the time, we're now married, in his words, it was like walking on eggshells, as he describes it. In fact, I got him to say something. He's not a man of many words, but this is what he said. He was like walking on eggshells, Sally. I was constantly snappy, argumentative. He said he couldn't talk to me, hard work at seeing me out of breath, and was not nice to watch you suffering. Shouting was the norm for me, wanting things done properly. I mean, I know that most women are like that anyway, but this was like extreme. Not rationalising with anything, and the brain fog, it was horrendous. You know when you walk into a room and you say, what did I come in here for? And we all do that, but this was a brain fog on another level. I was forgetting things, and I'd even write things down and then forget to look at the piece of paper. And chronic fatigue was horrific. So if the only way I can describe it, because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm tired, you know, I feel shattered, as the French called knackered, as I like to say. But this chronic fatigue was of a level that if you'd have offered me an all around the world ticket, I'd have told you to sod off. I wouldn't have been able to get out of bed. It was that bad. I mean, I still got out of bed and I still functioned, but it was just, if you've suffered, you'll understand where I'm at with that. It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Now, I also, as you just heard, my husband didn't like, you know, watching me struggle getting upstairs because I was breathless. Now, I have been, I'm a jack of all trade, master of none. I've also been a singer and a dancer, a professional dancer. So, of course, I'm used to having plenty of puff in my lungs to be able to, you know, sing a tune, and I haven't been able to really since my son, and I couldn't understand. So even at the doctors, if I had to go upstairs, I'd be out of breath at the top. So they sent me to the respiratory specialist, and they said, we're going to check you for COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, which I could get, but I'm not a smoker, so it's less likely. But they still tested me, and actually they tested me twice because they couldn't believe I didn't have it because I was so out of breath. So anyway, I didn't have it, but guess what? We'll put you on the medication anyway. So they put me on Spiriva. I think, am I saying that right, Dr. Caitlin Scott? Because I'm a bit used to with names. I also was put on Foster 200, which is your preventative asthma spray. It's the pink one if anybody takes it. This Foster 100 and Foster 200, that's one of the strongest ones you could get. And it actually made me go like this. So I'd shake. So my panic attacks were bad. And then, of course, they put me on this, which is making me feel like I'm panicky as well, like this. So I was like constantly like this. And then I also, still during the day, because my breathlessness was bad, I still had to take my Ventolin. And then they found out that I also had nasal drip, and I was put on Montelukast. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So I had to do that as well. My chest infections, I had repeatedly, so I was always on some sort of antibiotic and prednisolone, which obviously is a steroid. And in 2017, I was ill with a chest infection for roughly around about 6 months. And I had X-rays, CT scan, because they thought I actually had pneumonia. In 2016, in December, this was when I gave in. And I went on sertraline. Has anybody heard of that? Antidepressant. So I worked my way up. If anybody's, I mean, I'm not expecting anybody to tell me if they are on it in the room, but if anybody is on it, they'll probably be shocked to know that I was on 200 milligram, which is the strongest dose you could be on. First of all, it monged me out. Obviously, I had to build myself up to that. But my low moods, change in personality, anger, anxiety was awful, where I couldn't leave the house. There was one point where, and you can imagine the role that I do, I'm always meeting people, I'm very social, and I got to the point where I felt like somebody was strangling me and I couldn't get out of the house, and it was dreadful. And on live television, you have a talkback unit in your ear, and a director counts you in. They count 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Doing it for years, no problem. Yeah, I'm going to talk about whatever I'm going to talk about. But suddenly, I started to get these panic attacks when a director was counting me in. And that's when it really put the fear of God in me, because I thought, now this is affecting my work. And I'm freelance, so I can't go to work and go, listen, you know, when I'm going on TV, I'm having this panic attack. Who the hell is going to employ me? You're not going to take somebody on like that. I know mental health should be talked about, and I think it's great that we are, but there's still a stigma attached to it, and I couldn't tell anybody. I also didn't want to tell anybody because I was embarrassed about it as well. I know people might want to go, how on earth did you do it? I don't know how I got through it, but I did. But it actually felt like my body was going to burst into flames. It was absolutely awful. Now, in September 2018, I went to the doctors yet again with a list. I put a list on the back of an envelope. I was always there anyway, and they said, well, we can't sort out this as a whole. This is symptom by symptom we've got to look at. So, you know, let's try and get to the bottom of it. Well, I was already, as you can hear, what I was taking, I was already rattling like a pillbox. And that's when, also I've been, excuse me, this is an awful bit, but I'm going to have to tell you because it's part of it. So close your ears, blokes. I've been bleeding for around about 12 months. And I said, why is nobody getting to the bottom of this? You keep just telling me, oh, it'll be okay, it'll go, it'll go. I said, but I think this needs looking at. So they referred me to the gynecologist, and because of my hot sweats as well, they decided to do a perimenopausal test on me. That came back fine, but my doctor said, well, it comes back as fine, but we really don't know. So you could be. Right. Anyway, so I went to the gynecologist and I sat with him and I said, so my doctor's telling me that I could be perimenopausal. And I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm perimenopausal so young. And he said, you're not. He said, look at these levels. And he explained it to me. He said, oh, honestly. He said, you're not, don't worry. And with that, he had me in within about 6 weeks. They did their search and they took a polyp out. So that was what the problem was, but it took 12 months to get to the bottom of that. But obviously I'm telling you that because obviously what Dr. Caitlin's been telling you is that continually bleeding also, you know, you suffer ferritin. So I was already low during pregnancy. So in November 2018 was my worst, my absolute worst. That was a chest infection, another one, anxiety, panic attacks were bad. My weight had increased, so of course that is going to cause breathing difficulties as well. And I was craving sugar. You can imagine if you're chronically fatigued, you don't turn around and go, can you pass me a water and some broccoli? You say, can I have a Coke and a Kit Kat, don't you? So I was eating more and more of the good stuff, and of course that was showing on me, and I was getting fatter and fatter. So more antibiotics in the November and prednisolone, and I was now vomiting. It's great, isn't it? I rung the doctor. They said it must be the steroids. We'll put you on omeprazole. So you've just heard from Dr. Caitlin, the PPI, the proton pump inhibitor. I was now on omeprazole. Now, I never ever felt suicidal. I never wanted to take my own life, but I felt absolutely dreadful and I wanted to get off the train that I was on. That's when I had a call out of the blue from a friend of mine, and she makes, she's a dress designer for the stars. She's amazing, and we chatted. She said, you know what, I've felt like this since my son, she said, and I think I'm B12 deficient. She said, I've been looking into it. She said, I've had my bloods done. She said, but doctors said I'm fine. She said, but I've really done a lot of research into it. She said, I need to look at your bloods. When did you last have them done? I said, well, I had them done last week, but there's no point, Carrie. I said, my bloods are fine. Doctors said they're fine. She said, I'm coming round tonight. I said, I've got sick in my hair. I said, I feel absolutely dreadful. I said, no, I can't get down to the doctors. Anyway, sorted it out. Gary went to pick them up. She came round and she knew a fair bit about B12 deficiency, but obviously not as much as we all know now. That's Carrie and I. And she looked at my bloods and she said, oh, your ferritin's low. I went, what? What's that? Sounds like something your dog does. I said, what's ferritin? She said, it's your iron stores. I said, never heard of it. She said, well, that's low. I'm telling you, that's low. And I said, and that's all she could tell me. That's all she could tell me. Anyway, she left. And I went on the internet and I did my research. And I was a walking, talking advertisement on the NHS website for low iron deficiency. So obviously what did I do? I made an appointment to go and see my doctor. My ferritin level, I have to say at that point, when I felt my worst, was 24. So it was a little bit better than what it was during pregnancy, but I felt absolutely horrendous. So the next morning, it's the 4th of November to be precise, because I've got my doctor's notes. I made an appointment and I went down. I told the story to the doctor. You're not iron deficient. You're definitely not iron deficient. I could tell. You're not anemic. It's not shown in your haemoglobin, and your levels are fine because they're in the NICE guidelines. So there's no problem. So let's just have a look at yourself. I said, how come I feel so dreadful? And she said, oh, we'll just have to sort one problem out at a time. The same old story. So I asked for iron tablets. You know when you get a gut feeling, and I thought, oh my God, I've hit on it here, this is what it is. I got a gut feeling, so I said, I want some iron tablets. No, I'm not giving you. So I kind of said, I'm not leaving your surgery until you do. So she said, and you won't want to argue with me. So anyway, she did give in, and she gave me some ferrosulfate, and she said, but I tell you, she said, it's not going to make any difference. She said, it will not make any difference. Anyway, I got through Christmas the best I could for 2018, because also on top of that, I had a horrific year personally as well, which they were also putting it down to. I had a car crash. I tried to resuscitate my father, and sadly he passed. Sorry. My mum moved into his house. She had a stroke 6 weeks later. Then 3 weeks after that, she broke her arms and her nose, so we're all having a go at her. July, I had a miscarriage, and then at the end of the year, my father-in-law collapsed, and my mother had a TIA on the same day at virtually the same time. So getting through Christmas was my main priority. In January 2019, I went on the rampage. I am a doer. In fact, I'm like a Rottweiler. They call me Jackie Russell at work, because I never let anything go. But obviously with the iron deficiency, I just didn't have it in me to do anything. But I thought, you know what, I think there's something in this. So that's when I stumbled across, and I really did stumble across, because I rung a few places to try and get some information on iron. And that's when Dr. Kate, the angel in my world, picked up the phone. We were nattering for about an hour and a half, as you always will do if you pick up the phone to me. And I sent these very same bloods that my friend had checked that said something wrong there, and the doctor had said, no, there's nothing wrong. I sent those very same levels to Dr. Caitlin and Professor Toby Richards. The email came back to state that Professor Toby Richards said he suspected I'd low iron since 2004 when I was empty with ferritin of 8. Why had the doctors not picked up on this? Not just the doctors, I'd also been to hospital as well. I booked in for the iron clinic and had my infusion on Saturday the 23rd of February last year. I was nervous, but I decided to film it for YouTube, because I'm a right squeamish thing with needles. I filmed this for YouTube channel, which I've set up to build awareness about iron deficiency. Now, I was told that you could get the side effects, so she just saying you could get side effects, she gives you a leaflet, goes through it, and it could happen within 24 and 48 hours. She was very, very clear. And stupid me, I was gutted I didn't feel better straight away, which I know is stupid. But I've had a couple of other people that I've sent to them that have said the same thing. Why don't I feel better? Well, you're not going to, are you? So anyway, after 48 hours, I felt horrific. I went to bed. It was like the flu. I couldn't move. I slept or was in my bed for 17 hours. I couldn't even get to the side of my bed to get water. It was that bad. It was horrific. It was behind my eyes. My hands and feet were cold. I can't explain, and I just thought, oh sugar, what have I done? Anyway, I started to feel better. But I still got this metallic-y taste in my mouth around about a week later, which was also one of the side effects, and that lifted. The greatest side effect was that I started to go really dark. I had a tan. It's brilliant. But I rang her up thinking I might go. So friends of mine are coming into work going, where have you been, Barbados? So I rang Dr. I went, listen, what's happening to me? I haven't put any spray tan on, but I'm really dark. She went, oh, she said it is a side effect. She said, I forgot to mention that one. So anyway, about 9 weeks later, it was a very, very slow incline. It wasn't dramatic with me. About 9 weeks later, I went for a walk with my husband to a beautiful place called Waikoloa. And I ran after my son, and I ran back to him and I was chatting. He went, hey, look, you're not out of breath. I said, oh God, no, I'm not. And then he put his arm around me and he said, oh my gosh, he said, I have to tell you, he said, last couple of weeks has been brilliant. He said, it's like having my wife back. And I'm now off all my medication. I don't take a jot, apart from vitamins. Now, I've asked a lot of people to check their levels, and my mum was one of them. Her doctor said the ferritin levels should be between 30 and 50. So because she was 34, there was nothing wrong with them. My mum had a half an infusion in June of last year. Now, I was absolutely gutted. In the words of Towie, I was well jailed because she will like spring chicken within 48 hours. I was like, how come you get that and I get ill? And also, we've had another friend that's had the same thing as well. She's been absolutely fantastic with it, but I've had another friend that hasn't been so good from it. But obviously good now. I've since had my son checked because obviously this can be passed through during pregnancy and obviously with poor diet as well. But I feel that I feed my son very well. We keep away from processed foods, etc. But because I had no iron stores during pregnancy, that I believe is passed on to him. So his levels were 16. So totally deficient again. Again, what did my doctor say? There's nothing wrong. But I now have an appointment next week on the 5th of February with him for the haematologist paediatrician. But since October, I've been giving him liquid iron after speaking to a paediatrician I know. I've had his levels checked 12 days ago, and his iron's got up to a basic level, but he's still showing symptoms of iron deficiency. So the worst part of it for me, and this is why I want to build this awareness, is that it takes over your life. You know, it can ruin you socially, not wanting to go out. I can talk the hind legs of a donkey, but I didn't even want to make conversation. I would have sat at a dinner table with you and I was a completely different person. I didn't want to have small talk. I didn't even want to talk about the weather. I couldn't be bothered. It was horrific. But it was my 2 miscarriages, and I've briefly touched on one, but I struggle with this, so bear with me. Dr. Caitlin knows I'm trying to talk about it more and more because obviously we need to be as open as possible. I had a miscarriage in 2016 and I also had one in 2018. And it can't be said it was definitely down to iron deficiency, but iron deficiency causes and can cause miscarriages. So if my doctor had picked up on my low ferritin levels, could the story have been different? Would we have gone through the heartache we went through, my husband and I? And this is why I'm so passionate, and this is why I want to build the awareness, and this is why I want to change things. I want to change those nice comms guidelines, and I also want to hopefully help re-educate doctors in this area. Thank you for listening.
That was my story, and thank you as well for listening and taking time to watch this video. Like I said, everything will be in the description below. Please don't forget to subscribe. The most important thing for me is that you share this video to help others, because that could be somebody in your life that's suffering. That could be somebody that you're living with that hasn't told you, or maybe they're going to the doctors and it's a similar sort of pattern to what's happening to me. I've got a playlist that's under Iron Health that you can have a look at on my YouTube channel, and that will give you a load more videos of me having the iron infusion, etc. Now, the campaign is not just for iron, it's also for B12, it's for folate deficiency, B12 deficiency, and vitamin D deficiency also. All of those things can cause mental health problems, and all of those can affect anybody at any time in their lives. So yes, please join the campaign with me if you will. If you've got any questions, then leave them in the description below or the comment section below, and I hope to be able to answer all of them. But also in the description below, it's how you try and sort this situation out yourself, and all the information which I have gathered along my pathway, if you will. So thank you for watching once again, and I'll see you later.